Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome back to a CI Chit Chat. Mitchell Hora here with you. Good to be back. Been a lot of running around. Things are kind of crazy in Mitch world right now, but we're trying to make things happen here. Uh, yeah, a lot of travel, a lot of events, a lot of need to be in four places at one time, but that's kind of how my life is. So, still working on being able to duplicate myself. Welcome to the CI Chit Chat. We're talking CI, which is carbon intensity, talking the 45Z tax credit, talking low carbon biofuels, low carbon corn, meaning low carbon footprint, right? The lower the number, the better. The lower the number, the less environmental emissions you have, the more sustainable you are in terms of these calculations and these emerging government programs. The main program is 45Z. And 45Z was part of the Inflation Reduction Act. The update on that, like we normally start with, 45Z is still it's still law. It is still moved forward, but it's basically sitting still. There's no movement happening right now, nothing that I'm aware of. And essentially, the reason for that is the Biden administration got some preliminary verbiage out, but it was not enough to actually get the program off the ground, to really start moving much for money beyond just, small pilot projects and little things here and there. I think there could be more ethanol companies start doing more programs and start developing options agreements with their farmers and rolling out some programs. But by and large, they are still few and far between because the Biden administration got some stuff out, but it wasn't enough to actually give clarity and certainty to get the flow of money to move. So we need the Trump administration to get settled in and get that done. We know our Secretary of Treasury and Secretary of Ag are both had mentioned 45Z in their hearing process, both speaking positively to it, both saying that they want to see it come to fruition, but it's going to take time. The Biden administration did open up the public comment period, and that's really the core thing for me to start on here today. There's two different public comment periods that are open. One is with the USDA, and it ends on March 18th. That might be like midnight on March 18th, so it might be end of the day, March 17th, which is what I believe to be the case. So call it, get your stuff in by March 17th. The IRS public comment period is open until April 10th. So there's two different comment periods. So the USDA one was about their um, technical guidance, they called it, their draft of their technical guidance for quantifying greenhouse gas emissions of crops used as biofuel feedstock. So basically, it's USDA's recommendation for what they would do if they were in charge of 45Z. And then the IRS rule, they didn't really ask for a whole lot of feedback. Both of the public comment periods are pretty open-ended, and I think we need to share a fairly common message for both. So on our side, we did get our draft of our comments put together. We will be circulating it and getting some feedback from just other commodity groups and folks that we are surrounding ourselves with. And we plan on getting our public comments out and posted probably next week. Is the hope, and be able to get our public comment actually submitted to the getting the public comment actually submitted to government, and we'll circulate our thoughts with everybody via our email here as well. So that again, probably next week, I think is the current plan that we've been discussing. Our public comment boils down to three main points. Point number one, we want to see 45Z done via a book and claim program. Right now, the USDA was recommending to use a mass balance, which means you have to have the grain and the data stay together and they get tracked through the supply chain, meaning you have to deliver the grain to the ethanol plant or to an elevator who aggregates, audits, and then sends it to an ethanol plant. Meaning if you are a livestock producer, you're out. If you sell to livestock, you're out. If you don't have an ethanol plant nearby, you're out. If your ethanol plant doesn't have a very good CI score and doesn't want to participate in 45Z, you're out. So a lot of winners and losers, just geographic wise, and based on different types of farms, based on farms that have storage, are going to be in better position to sell to the ethanol plant because they can store it and move it to the ethanol plant later. Um, and a lot of this grain is already moved. It's already traded hands, and it's going to be really hard to go back and track all that. So, the but the USDA wants mass balance. The reason being is that it mimics the European program, ISCC, but still some of the rules are different in that case, and a lot of those programs are still very, very small scale in early stages. So what we're advocating for is book and claim, where the grain and the data get decoupled. So you can sell the grain to wherever you want to sell the grain to, then you can sell the data or the CI certificates on to any biofuel producer that wants to purchase them. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity there for open, transparent markets, uh, letting a free market-ish system emerge out of this to make sure that there's adequate and equitable share of the financial opportunity throughout the supply chain. So then in that case, you can produce your crop, sell your crop to the local hog producer like we do, sell your crop to the ethanol plant or to the elevator or to the river for export, wherever it goes, doesn't really matter. But you can only sell the data and sell the carbon claim once. So if you're in a different carbon credit program, you can't sell into a CI program. If you're doing any different carbon credit programs, and there's a bunch of companies saying, "Oh no, you're fine. You can do our carbon credit program. Plus, you can do this other. They're different." It doesn't matter what those companies say. It's what the IRS says, and in the language, they have talked about how you can't stack, you can't double count. So it doesn't matter what the private sector companies say. It's up to the federal government and what they are saying, and they're saying no double counting. You can't do a carbon program and a CI program. But book and claim would really level the playing field, allow all farmers to be able to participate and really allow for the mass adoption of more soil health practices because more farmers are incentivized to participate at a broader scale, even if you don't necessarily deliver to the ethanol plant, and more farmers encouraged to adopt soil health practices, which is ultimately why Continuum Ag is doing this. We think that more family farms should be adopting soil health practices. That's going to make them more resilient, more profitable for when these credit programs go away or when they change, and they will. That's how this works. It may not even start, or it gets started and then eventually it goes away. And farms need to be more resilient, and soil health systems are the key to be able to get that done. So, in it, book and claim, not mass balance. That's point number one that we want to see in the 45Z rules. Both of them take work, but one is far superior to the other if you actually want to drive decarbonization, participation, and equitable value sharing and transparency in the supply. Book and claim far superior. Item number two that we want to see is that we want the program to be based on the GREET feedstock calculator, not this new USDA feedstock calculator. The new USDA feedstock calculator is way too overly simplified. It doesn't even include some of the main basic components of a CI score, including your actual per acre yield, your actual fertilizer usage, your actual manure and organic fertilizer usage. Like it doesn't even include these things. And those are super basic. Like if you're going to have a CI score, you have to be able to have your carbon emissions divided by your output, your yield, which has got to be on a per acre basis. And right now in the USDA model, they don't even ask for it. They ask for total production, but that's never done on a per acre basis. Therefore, you have no way, and they never ask acreage. Therefore, you have no way to actually determine what was your emissions per unit of outcome. And that's the whole point of carbon intensity. It's literally the basis of it is emissions per unit of output. And for some reason, the USDA model neglected to factor that in. And then the fertilizer component, whether it be synthetic fertilizer or organic fertilizer, by and large, like way beyond anything else, the biggest driver of crop carbon footprint is from nitrous oxide emissions and from fertilizer. So fertilizer is the biggest part of the on-farm carbon footprint, but they don't even ask what fertilizer you use or what rates. It just doesn't make any sense. The biggest piece of the carbon footprint, they don't even ask about it. Instead, all they ask for is, are you split applying, which is funky on how they even define that? Are you not applying fertilizer in the fall? And are you using a nitrification inhibitor? That's it. It's just check those boxes, but they don't ask what products are you actually utilizing, what rate are you actually applying it at. It's just major, major flaw. So those are just a couple core points and core issues with the USDA calculator. And what's weird is all of this was already solved for in the GREET feedstock calculator. The GREET feedstock calculator has been around for a long time. It already factors in yield, fertilizer, manure, tillage, cover crop, energy usage, pesticide usage, like very thorough, very complete. The only issue with it is that there's certain areas, certain counties that don't have a SOC calculation to them. And SOC is soil organic carbon. So what that does is if you are in North Dakota, for example, there's a lot of counties in North Dakota that don't have the SOC calculation. So you could be in one side of the county line and have the SOC calculation, meaning if you use strip till, no till, manure, cover crops, you get credit towards your soil carbon buildup in that one side of the county. If you're on the other side of the county line that doesn't have the SOC calculation, you can do all those same practices but get zero credit for it. And you're right across the county line. Or say you farm in two different counties, you have fields that are in the county that it's going to have a good score and you get credit. Other fields right across the county line that don't get credit. This is going to create major winners and losers from a financial standpoint. Those farms that are in the county that has the SOC component are going to be able to have significant opportunity to sell into the biofuel producer or to sell their CI certificates or to have increased financial opportunity and major, major financial harm to those who, just because of the county that they're in, don't get the credit. So we're advocating for just utilizing proxy scores, utilize the county adjacent to it for right now, or worst case scenario, you could utilize this USDA feedstock calculator, although it is uh, far inferior to the GREET model itself, the GREET feedstock calculator. But in some of these counties, the USDA feedstock calculator did account for the SOC component because they used regional numbers. So the GREET feedstock calculator is all based on unique county by county numbers, county by county formulas and models. The USDA feedstock calculator is based on regional assessment. They say, well, it's county by county. You can plug in your county and get a score. Well, it's really not. You can be in Washington County versus Keokuk County versus Muscatine County. There's some of the counties that surround me. You can do all the same, plug in the same numbers to get the same score in all these different counties. And it's just the reality is not, it's not actually nuanced to the county like the GREET model already was. So why not utilize a tool that's far superior? The reason the USDA wanted to utilize this new calculator is to try to simplify things by saying, hey, here's just 7 check boxes. Check which of the 7 check boxes you can do rather than plug in actual data into the GREET model. And that is easier. It is a simplified system, but the problem is when you go through the audit, you have to show all the data anyway. So when you're going through the audit, you actually have to show fertilizer records via machine data, as applied, receipts, whatever evidence you've got. Same for planting, same for yield, same for any of your fertility applications, organic or inorganic. You still have to account for all the data. It's just you don't get credit for it because they oversimplified the model and it just doesn't make sense to me and why you already had a model that included all this stuff. Why not use that? So um, that is point number 2. So point number 1, book and claim, not mass balance. Point 2, utilize the GREET model, not the USDA feedstock calculator. Point number three is we do like the ISO 14065 audit protocol that was laid out in the USDA guidance, but they specified some of the MRV protocol, which is the monitoring, reporting, and verification. They laid out some details in there about data collection that needs to be done on the farm, and some of it was just asinine ideas. Like it just doesn't make sense, not based in reality of how this is going to work at all. And just there's a couple of things that just need to be struck from the protocol. But overall, the gist of it is pretty okay. The ISO 14065 standard, ISO 14064, 65, they go together. That's what we've been using with Eco. Our third party auditor will have some super exciting announcements coming very soon. I don't want to spill all the beans and get in trouble with some of my team, but stay tuned. Huge stuff going on there that we really can utilize these ISO standards, audit down to a field level, and be extremely thorough in documenting what actually happened on the farm, quantifying a holistic environmental footprint of that farm, get it through a third party audit in a manner that is scalable, it is cost effective, and it's going, it's happening. So, some huge opportunity there. So a couple adjustments to that MRV protocol though, and it'll be fine. So book and claim, GREET model, slight adjustments to the MRV protocol, but stick with ISO 14065, and we're off to the races. So we will be getting our public comment put together here very soon. I would encourage everybody to submit your own comment if you feel inclined. Specifically, what I think a lot of us on the farm need to do is really tell our unique farm story, with our own financials or our own, not financials, but our own impact, right? The impact that a good program could make on a farm versus the impact of a poor program or continuing to not get this done. I think also, obviously, with a lot of uncertainty when it comes to what is going to happen with federal programming. I think a tax credit program can really shine through and can be a big win for this administration, even though it was a previous administration law that brought it to the table. They didn't get it done, and I think the Trump administration, this program checks a lot of boxes for them on stimulating middle America, helping out farmers and agriculture, more energy, right? Energy, helping to lower energy costs, but doing it with tax credits that can be traded and stimulate growth in the economy rather than be paid for as a direct payment on the expense side of the equation. And they don't need to print more money to make this go. It can be done throughout the private sector and utilize tax credits to incentivize it. So I think all of us, we need to be telling our story there, be active part of these public comments, try to make sure that our voice gets heard. So USDA public comment due by like March 17th, IRS comment due by April 10th. Then the administration is going to have to ingest all of this feedback, ingest what was put out there by the previous administration, ingest the public comment. I assume they'll have some more like verbal comment sessions as well. I don't know how that works. Would love to chat with folks who do have a better understanding of what the next pieces of progression are going to be. But nonetheless, I mean, after these public comment periods end in April, I assume it's going to take a couple months for them to ingest all of this information, try to get it formulated, try to put out some updated verbiage. And even after that, I assume there's probably going to even be some public comment on the final or the proposed 45Z guidance because we have not seen actual 45Z guidance proposed. All we've seen is a draft of guidance and a intent to propose. We have not seen an actual set of proposed guidance. So we need that. But I assume, I don't know if we could get something by summer or late summer and then provide comment and stuff on that throughout early fall. They ingest those comments late part of the year and hopefully early of 2026, maybe we'll have some final rules. But uh, very frustrating that it is that type of time frame. And all we can really do is continue to manage our data and build out these partnerships between farmers and biofuel companies or elevators in the supply chain, depending on how this is going to actually roll out. So that's why we at Continuum we've rolled out our we're trying to lower the barrier to entry. So we've rolled out our TopSoil Connect program. It's $2 an acre. We had been charging 7 for CI certification, which is the entire audit program, being able to get through the ISO 14065 audit protocol. That's $7 an acre. We're still doing that, but with a lot of uncertainty, farmers at a minimum should be organizing their data, looking for alternative programs as well, looking for different ways to get ROI. Um, take what we can get because uh, luckily commodity prices are good right now, but it doesn't look like they're going to get anything better than what they are. At least nothing too significant from any meetings I've been at, and no indication that input prices are going to go down. That's for sure. So ag is going to be tight for a while. Hopefully, a program like 45Z can come through and give us some hope and some opportunity. But all of it boils down to data. All of it boils down to telling our story, managing, managing our information, and advocate for 45Z, but also understand that there's a lot of other programs that are potential for you, and we'll be announcing some stuff with in regards to that here soon as well. Um, not seeing a lot of questions and stuff coming in here today. We will get our public comment out as soon as we've got it. Like I said, next week is the current plan. Continue to advocate for all this. It really though it boils down to the folks at the Treasury and at USDA, not necessarily our local elected politicians, right? These are appointed folks that ultimately have the say so here. Now we need to, of course, continue to push on our local politicians too to keep pushing on the administration to get this done and make sure that they understand how important this is, especially as they go into the tax bill discussions with the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. This is definitely going to be part of the discussion. Ongoing farm bill conversation stuff definitely going to be part of the discussion, and just Inflation Reduction Act overall, right? That basically froze everything so far. All the climate smart commodity grant money, $3 billion of dollars, it's all frozen. All these other program stuff, it's all frozen right now. So we need to help them to pick through this quickly and be able to help the folks in DC to identify like, hey, here's programs that really are actually pretty awesome. Focus on them, get them out there. These are going to make huge waves to really enable agriculture to flourish and enable more farms to adopt more soil health practices. So that's what it's about. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep doing our role. I'm going to be in DC here in just a couple weeks, pushing myself. But encourage all of you to keep doing it as well. If you do seed ethanol plants that are one to participate, we have hundreds of millions of bushels of farmers in our system. We have tens of millions of bushels now through this audit protocol, and we can get more. We can get a lot more farms through it, or help you if you're at an ethanol plant or your local plant is wanting to make some progress and be in position to capitalize, knowing that there's still not a lot of 100% clarity, but we have the directionality and we need to be in position because the longer we wait, the shorter the time frame between go day and tax filing in 2026, April of 2026, because this is still the law of the land for calendar year 2025. And it's going to be a lot of data, a lot of work that's got to be all pulled together when you're talking the 2024 crop. And we're going to be starting to talk 2025 crop. And you got to get all that data pulled together and through audit before you can file your taxes in April of 2026 or of course, file for extensions and all that. But then you're getting into auditing and verifying 2025 and 2026 crop, and it's going to be a huge headache. So we need to get ahead of this now. We need to be managing our data correctly and go from there. Dean, has the Ag Secretary provided a position statement yet? I'm not sure if a position statement is any different than what she said in her Senate hearings, but in some of her hearings, in the process of going through to get appointed, she did speak positively to 45Z. So I've not heard of anything since her swearing in, um, but uh, but she did speak positively to it before. So I'm going to try to find out more. And I was appointed to a USDA advisory committee. The meeting it's still weeks away, but hopefully I learn some more there, and hopefully learn some more when I'm in DC here in a couple weeks as well. But no, I've not heard the new secretaries make any definitive comment on it. All we really need from USDA is for them to continue to help Treasury, because ultimately it's Treasury that is the authority because it's a tax credit. So that's where we are. Yeah, start on managing data at topsoil.ag. We do have some webinars and stuff coming up as well. We've got announcements coming for our Topsoil Summit coming up. That's going to be June 3rd in Southeast Iowa. Be sure to continue to monitor our stuff. We're going to keep pushing. We want to help you all to be in position to capitalize on whatever the future of all this unveils to us. So, with that being said, appreciate everyone hanging out here today. Have a great Tuesday, and we will catch you next week on CI Chit Chat. Thanks, everyone.